Hey guys, welcome back to Supposedly Fun. I'm Greg. Well, the first month of 2019 is officially in the books, and no pun intended, except, you know what? Pun intended. Go with it. Uh, so I thought it would be good to do my reading wrap up for January. I did really well this year. I've read some good books. I feel energized and ready to power through the rest of the year. Heading into February, I'm feeling good. I have a bit of a library book backup at the moment, which is not helping me get through the TBR books that I prioritized for this year, but I'm hoping I will be caught up on the library books soon and I'm ready to do the rest. So let's start by talking about how I did briefly. I managed to read 7 books in the month of January. If I keep that pace up, I will finish 2019 having read 84 books, which would be by far the most books that I would have read in a single year since I started keeping track. I don't feel confident that I'm going to be able to keep up this pace though. Basically, January started off with some time off from work because of the holidays, and then I had 4 different plane trips in the month of January that really helped me get through some of the books that I was working on that will not repeat in most of the months to come. But it gave me a good head start, and I'm really thankful for that. In terms of my reading goals, the pertinent ones are that I wanted to read more books by. So I read a lot of LGBTQ books, and I wanted to read more books that focus on the L, the B, and the T, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. And I really whiffed on that one in January because I did not read a single book that checks that box. I didn't even read a book that checks the G box. But I have some books lined up for February and beyond that should get me back on track for that one. The other goal that's pertinent is that I want to read more books by women than men in 2019, and on that one, I am happy to say I'm doing really well. All 7 books that I read in January were written by women. So there you go. And that actually happened by accident. I decided that I wanted to read more books by women than men closer to the middle of the month, and I was just already on track for it. The books I had already finished were by women, the book I was reading was by women, and my next book was... So I just kind of leaned into it for the rest of the month because I figured it would give me a good head start working toward that goal. So that went great. Now let's talk about the books that I read, and I'm going to rank them in order from worst to best. And to be fair, there's no book that I read in January that I really actively disliked or hated. Something just had to be on the bottom, and the one I'm putting on the bottom is The Western Wind by Samantha Harvey. I think Samantha Harvey is actually a great writer. It's, like I said, something happened to be on the bottom, had to be on the bottom, and I had some problems with the structure of this book. Set in 1491, The Western Wind is the story of John Reeve, who is a priest in a small town named Oakham. And in the days leading up to Lent, their most wealthy resident is swept away in a river and drowns. What's interesting about this book is that it's told out of sequence. You start on day 4 after the incident happens, and then you go back in time to the day the incident happens. And along the way, it teases out whether or not what happened to the wealthy resident, Tom Newman, was an accident, or if it was suicide, or if it was murder. And I was really excited about this book because I thought that sounded like an interesting structure, but I was wary of it in the beginning because I figured there are only a couple of ways that this can pan out. Either at the end of the book, which is the beginning, there's a coda that reveals to us what happened, but John Reeve does not know, or we pick up on details along the way that he does not know, or we're actively being lied to in the beginning of the book, which is actually the ending of the book, and that will be revealed when we get to the end of the book, which is actually the beginning. And unfortunately, it turns out the latter option is true. The way that things happen is misrepresented as we begin the book. Because of course when I finished, I immediately wanted to go back to the beginning of the book, which is the end, and see if it worked both ways, and it doesn't. I don't really want to say a whole lot about it, because if you do read it, I don't want to make a spoiler, but that really irritated me, and it took me out of the book. It's just something I didn't like. I did think there were a lot of clever things that Samantha Harvey does. She goes a long way toward explaining why this story is being told backward, and that is really elegant and nice, and I liked that. I just couldn't really get into the book for that reason. So there you go, that's The Western Wind. Coming in at number 6 is Washington Black by S.E. Adujan. I really tried to like this book. I did a video review of it in full the other day, so I'm not going to talk about it too much here. It's just I tried, and I was not into it at all. I had enough problems about it that it was actually tough to call whether this or The Western Wind was going to be on the bottom. Don't hate either one of them. Don't actively dislike either one of them, but just not super passionate about them either. Coming in at number 5 is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this one either because I did a full video about it as well. And again, I liked this book. I actually liked this book. But I did have some problems with the structure of it. I thought there were some things that could have been done better or more interesting. And I am looking forward to reading more about Emily St. John Mandel, but it's just, it kind of feels appropriate that it's in the middle of the pack. Coming in at number 4, we have Notorious RBG by Erin Carmen and Shanna Kniznik. I apologize for mangling your name, I'm sorry. Hopefully you won't see this. Now, I'm probably biased about this book because I love Ruth Bader Ginsburg very much. I went to see the documentary about her. I'm on the wait list for her actual book, and I have a picture book about her called I Dissent. It's really good. Hang on one second. Okay. If you haven't read I Dissent, check it out. I really like this book. It's just a really cute children's book about, especially for girls. I bought copies for both of my nieces. Wonderful. Anyway, back to Notorious RBG. So it kind of felt like I was destined to like this book, and it's a little bit like I ended up in an echo chamber because, you know, if you already love RBG, of course you're going to like this book. But I will never get tired of hearing stories about her life and her work, and I like it. Parts of this book are a little painful because it was published in 2015, I believe, and obviously the election had not happened yet. So at one part, it even speculates that Hillary Clinton is going to be the next president and that Ruth Bader Ginsburg will be able to retire once Hillary Clinton is president, which, knowing what happens in the election, just feels like, oh, no. But it's still a good book. I enjoyed it. That there's just a little bit of a trigger warning that it was published before November 2016. So if you can go along with that, you will be just fine. And coming in at number 3, we have We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And technically, I gave this book 5 stars on Goodreads, so it should be coming in at number 2, but I just really don't feel right putting it in the top 2 slots, because this is the text of a TEDx talk that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie gave about feminism, of course. And as such, it's really short. I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook is only 45 minutes long. It was over before I even know. But I will say this, if you're going to read this book, and I think you should, listen to the audio. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie narrates it herself, and it just sounds right coming from her. She does a great job with it. I like her message. I like every point that she makes. The only mark against it is that it's only 45 minutes, and I wanted more. I wanted so much more. So I feel this feels right putting it at number 3. If there's ever an expanded version of this book that goes into greater detail or has more points about it, I am so on board. I would buy a ticket immediately. It would probably be number 1 with a bullet. At number 2, we have Good and Mad, The Revolutionary Power of Women's Anger by Rebecca Traister. I talked about this book a little bit when I recommended some books about feminism, and I really enjoyed this book. It's about the ways in which female anger has caused revolutionary change in society and the ways in which it has been squashed in order to prevent change through time. And it was just really interesting. Kind of like Notorious RBG, parts of it feel like being in an echo chamber, where if you're already inclined to believe what the point that it's trying to make, it's just like you and the book are going back and forth, echoing each other. But it still feels like there's enough information that was new to me that I feel like I came away from it enlightened. And my dog is barking. But you know what? In this political climate, I really needed the affirmation that this book gave me, and it made me feel stronger about moving forward politically and with the news cycle, and like I can be a better citizen and a better human being. Which really leads me into my number 1 book of January, which is Becoming by Michelle Obama. And part of me was nervous about this because I was worried that reading about Michelle Obama was going to make me long for what we had not so long ago. And there is that, for sure, but it's actually the lift that I needed to get going and feel good about the world again and politics and how things go, because part of what Michelle Obama talks about in this book is that we've been through hard times before, and all we have to do is stay motivated and keep showing up and trying to do better, and that made me feel so good. It's also really interesting the way, how deep she's willing to go. So many celebrity or political memoirs just skim the surface and feel very superficial, but she actually talks about kind of difficult issues. Even with Barack Obama, how they had to reconcile when he went into politics because she wanted a family that was all around, and politics inevitably took him away from their home. So it was just a really good book. I enjoyed it very much. I think you guys will too. I know when I posted a photo of this on Instagram and said that I was reading it, a lot of people were saying, I don't know that I can read it because politics has me so mad right now. And I was nervous about that too. But I came away from it feeling a lot better. It's the power of Michelle Obama. How can you go wrong with Michelle Obama? She's so good. Just, so good. So there you go. Those are the 7 books that I read in January and how I did on my reading goals a little bit. So heading into February, I just today started a book called The Terrible by Yrsa Daley-Ward. I am only 26 pages into it so far, but it's really good. She's a poet, so I'm really looking forward to finishing this one. This is one of the library books that is causing me backup right now. After that, I'm probably going to read Adele by Leila Slimani, who wrote The Perfect Nanny, because it's going to be due. So I have to try to finish it. And I got Bridge of Clay by Markus Zusak from the library. And on top of these 3 library books, the ebook for Prairie Fires by Carolyn Fraser just came available again. I had only gotten a little bit of the way into it when I had it earlier, so I had to get back on the wait list. So I got to get through these 3 and that one, and then I can get working on the TBR books that I had prioritized for 2019. I'm really looking forward to it. If you want to be around when I inevitably talk about these books, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll be back. Until then, happy reading. And thanks again for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, think about subscribing or watching some more of my videos. Okay, that's it. Thank you.